What's going on, Falcon fans? This is your boy Ricondo coming back at you with another video. So today we're going to talk about the Atlanta Falcons offseason plan and, how much different it is for this new regime coming into this year. We're definitely going to get into that. I'm excited about it. Heard from our general manager and our head coach today. On their end of the season press conference that they provided a lot of insight. If you haven't seen it already, please go ahead and go look at AtlantaFalcon.com and see those two guys talk about this off season and some of the things that they're looking for. Still early in the game, but we're going to talk about all that. We're going to talk real quick about the defensive coordinator search. Trying to replace Dean Pease, which I really think is important, and really, talks about this offseason program as well. We're going to get into some of the free agents, in particular our own free agents that we have on our team. Some of those guys that definitely can be considered guys that we might want to bring back, and then we're going to talk about some of the offensive needs and defensive needs on this roster. Got a lot to start talking about this offseason. It's still football season for some teams. Of course, it's 14 teams going to start playoffs this weekend. Two teams going to be on the bye course, but the other 12 definitely going to be out there and get the tournament rolling for who's going to be the Super Bowl champs this year. From like what Ricky Bobby said is right. If you're not first, you're last. So there's only going to be one happy team at the end of the season. But you want to have a chance to get to the tournament. And hopefully, it's been a drop for the Falcons since the 2017 season. The year after the Super Bowl, we have not been back to the playoffs. So definitely want to get back to the playoffs. That's something that we definitely want to do. So, guys, the biggest thing is it's the off season. Definitely want you guys to go ahead and if you have not, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and join me this off season. Talk about these Falcons, looking at the transformation of this team. This will be the third season in a row that this team is really going to look different. So, like I said, if you have not already, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Please hit the notification bell so you know when I drop another video. Please hit the like button so I know you guys like hear to talk about. Then go ahead and, like I said again, share my video for other Falcons fans to come out, and we're going to discuss this offseason and see what these guys can potentially make from this team. This is going to be a different offseason for the Atlanta Falcons that we have seen in not just the last two seasons with this new regime, but for a lot of years, because the Falcons have not had this much cap space in a while. Really have not had this much cap space in a while. And the young talent that they have from their last two draft classes mixed in with some of the veteran staples that they already have on the team, you can see the direction of this team and where it's going. So we're going to get right into it. What's going on, Rodell, James, and 3 Dirty. So the biggest thing we're going to talk about first, of course, we got to get with some of the news. This is some big news. I just talked about the cap space. And, of course, we're going to talk about Jake Matthews' restructure. They already working, guys. Right after the season, they go ahead and restructure Jake Matthews' contract. $4.2 million. I looked at over the cap just a few minutes, and you look at over the cap right now, the Atlanta Falcons is sitting at $75,461,538 in cap space. Like I said, they're second, the second team with the most money this offseason. Chicago Bears sitting at like $118 million, which is awesome for those guys. They got the number one pick, and they got $118 million to play with. So Chicago Bears definitely could make some moves this year. But, this restructure from Jake Matthews, guy that they definitely is going to be here for a while. They gave him a new contract during the off season last year. So restructuring his contract, push his money to the right. It's not a big deal. This is something that we don't want to get back in the habit doing, like we did with our other guys that we had on this roster in the Thomas Dimitrov era. But this is a good thing for this because it just create more cap space for these Atlanta Falcons, and you gotta love it. Going into the season, going into the offseason with $75 million is really, really big deal. So that's good news right there. Of course, the Falcons also signed some futures contracts for some guys that probably gonna end up on the practice squad. Of course, those guys does not count towards the salary cap for this year, so it doesn't hurt the cap space. But those guys' futures contracts, you bring them in, and that put the Falcons right now at 39 individuals that's currently on the roster. So already roster spots to fill because right now we only got 39 spots. So that's where we're at. But just wanted to get this out, talk about the Jake Matthews. It was reported yesterday. Of course, I didn't do a video yesterday, so I want to come out here and update you guys on that news. And like I said, guys, going into the offseason, at this point, we're going to talk about just a minute, but at this point, the Falcons have $75 million in cap space. You got to love it. This is a totally different season from the last two seasons. And if you guys didn't know, the first season when the regime took over, Arthur Smith and Terry Fontenot, it was the COVID season, and we actually had the salary cap actually went down to $182 million. So not only was the Falcons already in what they consider salary cap hell, the overall cap went down to like 182 million, where the Falcons really, really had to go out and do bargain basement hunting for players to fill the roster to where they can actually compete last season. And you saw it was mostly veteran guys on that team last year. The Falcons did still win 7 games with their roster. We all felt that the roster was not that good. How did they win 7 games with their roster? Then, fast forward to this season, still in salary cap, had a lot of salary cap issues. Of course, they got traded Matt Ryan. They traded Deion Jones, had the biggest dead cap hit in NFL history. So still couldn't go out and spend money like they really wanted to like this year. So pretty much had to go and repeat the same process that they repeated the year before, bringing in guys on 1-year deals, some guys on prove-it deals. Got some talented guys. We're going to talk about some of those guys in just a minute. But these last 2 seasons was really, really tough for the Atlanta Falcons. And they really just had to figure it out. They still had the plan that they wanted to compete, just not, pack it in. And they wanted to, perform for us, the Falcon fans, and, build that culture that they try to do in these first 2 seasons, right? So the ideal is to come in this season, and it seemed like they had a plan. They stuck to their plan. They did not go outside the plans. They almost blew up the plan. So let's be real. They almost blew up the plan last year when they actually tried to go out and get Deshaun Watson, because that would have really changed a lot of things if they would have made that trade for Deshaun Watson. A lot of their draft picks would have been gone for the future. Maybe they would have had their franchise quarterback for the future, which is really important in NFL. I know you guys all agree with that. If you don't have a franchise quarterback, it's really tough to win on a consistent basis in NFL. So I see why they swung for the fences to go get Deshaun Watson last year, even though he had all those controversial things, going on off the football field. They still was going to try to go that route because he was a young franchise quarterback that could be a guy that you could have for lots of years to come because of his age. And usually franchise quarterback does not come on a trade market at that young of age, like another guy like a Lamar Jackson. So I understand why they went went for Deshaun Watson last year, but they stuck to the plan. When that did not happen, they stuck to it. Um, Brought guys in on 1 year deals again. We want to talk about some of those guys. Would they be considered to return to add to this culture and the mix, or are they gonna just start all over, new guys all over again? So we're definitely gonna talk about that. But um, that's where we're at, guys. Jake Matthew. So 3 Dirty says, Ricardo, what's up? I know we're going to get another quarterback. Do you think it is they're going to have a quarterback competition unlike they did last season? I'm not 100% sure. It's so early in the right now in the off season about quarterbacks. Arthur Smith was asked today about his committal on Desmond Ritter. He liked what he's seen out of Desmond Ritter. I think we all did, but it's still too early to really assess right now what their plans is going forward with the quarterback position. It's so many different things that could happen depending on veteran guys that may get cut, may not get cut from their current NFL rosters. Guy like a Derek Carr, Ryan Tannehill. Not saying I want those guys, but just other guys that definitely could factor in into if they want to bring in a veteran guy into to the fold. So it's so early. They potentially want to go get a guy in the draft. So it's so many different avenues that they can take from the quarterback position. But I think they need to. What Arthur Smith said, they just take time back, look at all the film, assess everything, see where they're at, and then make a determination. They don't have to make it right now. They do have time, but I think by the time they get to the draft or until the new league year in March, free agency start, they're gonna have an idea the direction that they want to go. So that's where I think they're gonna be at with the quarterback position. Okay. Let's talk about the defensive coordinator search for the Atlanta Falcons. As y'all know, Dean Pease currently, had 1 year left on his contract, but decided to call it quits at the age 73. Congrats to him on 50 years of coaching. Can't imagine trying to work a job until I'm 73 years old. I want to be sit back and relax by that time. So understand, the travel, the hours, put in work. I know it's the love of the game, but you got to give back to your family, your loved ones, and things like that. So I understand why he left, but at the same time, I feel like he did create a foundation here. Um, you could say it's incomplete because never really got the players that he really wanted to have in here to actually build a defense. The type of defenses he had in his other stops as a defensive coordinator. But at the same time, you have to respect the things that Dean Pease was able to do while he was here. A team that, if you just look at the season as a whole, how they progress, one of the best teams in the second half of games, not giving up points. Still had a lot of holes, but for whatever reason, these guys bust their work hard, and they made plays when they need to make plays to keep teams out of the end zone, especially in the second half, during the second half of the season. So you have to love the progression that you've seen from this Atlanta Falcons defense in these 2 years. And like I said, keep in mind, pretty much two different rosters that this team had to deal with in these first two seasons. So consistency was really, really hard. They did have some staple guys here. Had some young guys here, guys like Richie Grant that definitely got better. Okendeji made strides, but you didn't really see the progression you really want to see from this year. Hopefully, year 2 to year 3 will be better. A guy like Taquan Graham, you definitely seen his growth before he went down. So on the defensive side of the ball, you saw some good things you wanted to see. Michael Walker played decent, so I think the linebacker core is still growing, developing, but I think Troy Anderson and Michael Walker definitely guys that um, got potential to get even better. So those are some of the things you've seen from a decent defense, from guys that had the consistency from year one to year two, but it was a lot of turnover in other spots. So, but this defensive coordinator search is really important because Arthur Smith mentioned today you're not going out and do a whole overall overhaul of the defense. Currently, you got a 3-4, but in my opinion, I think it's really like a multiple defense, not just strictly 3-4. They do a lot of 4-3 downs as well. If you're watching it, they're multiple. They do a lot of different things. Um, what I liked about Dean Pease, they had a different game plan every week for different teams. They mix things up. You don't want to get into where you get stuck into a box where you just run the cover three or you just run the Tampa 2 all the time. If you can mix it up and run so many different types of defense, and you have to be able to do that the way how explosive the offenses are today. So I think that the way Dean Pease ran his scheme was really, really good, right? So you want to kind of keep some consistencies. Um, so you go back and look at some of Dean Pease coaching trees and things like that, and try to figure out um, where you think he's going to actually go, what direction he's going to go in. Of course, anything in life, especially when you're hiring somebody that you're going to work with, is about relationships. So you have to go back and look at Arthur Smith relationships and see, can you make any ties to that as well, and then you have to go from there, right? So the first thing you always going to do is look in house, right? Because if a new defensive coordinator come in, it's going to be changes because he's going to bring his defense, his guys, that he's comfortable with as a defensive coordinator. So you can expect change. However, if the Falcons decide to stay in house, guys, you definitely can consider guys like Frank Bush, Ted Montecchino. Those guys definitely could be considered as defensive coordinator to take Dean Pease place. But you know, I don't know how much experience they got. You want to be able to see if um what's going on, Ron, what's going on, Brian. You want to be able to see if you know those guys can duplicate and keep the train moving the right direction. So Arch Smith said they did a search. Oh, they did not limit. They're not going to keep themselves in the boxes. They're going to you know talk to all different coaches and things like that. It's not really 100% that they have to stay with the 3-4, but you have to look at the guys they drafted, the kind of skill guys. They want to be able to do multiple things. You don't want a guy get pigeonholed. Just he can only be a down lineman. Um, you, you want linebackers that can be able to be in pass coverage, be able to come downhill as well. You want safeties to be able to switch from free to strong. Some of those things you want to be able to cornerbacks that be able to play man and zone. So you want to have a defense that be able, like I said, to be multiple. But so you have to just look at some of the guys that's out there. Like I said, Ted Montecchino, Frank Bush, guys in house. Um, Ivero, a defensive coordinator out of Broncos this year. Broncos had a pretty good defense this year, but if the new head coach want to go in a different direction, guys, definitely somebody that they could consider. Mike Zimmer is another guy that's been thrown out there. He was a consultant with Deion Sanders at Jackson State. Look like he might be another consultant with him in Colorado. So what they'll see by Mike Zimmer. Do he want to get back into coaching? Jim Schwartz is a name that's been thrown out there as well. Another guy who's been coaching for about 30 seasons. Um, so this, he's been in the NFL a long time, tied with the Tennessee Titans. So, of course, Arthur Smith probably got a relationship with him. Jim Leonhard is another guy coming out of Green Bay. And then the young linebackers coach from New England who actually has ties to Dean Pease, Jared Mayo. So those are some of the names that that's thrown out there right now that definitely Arthur Smith they might consider. Vic Fangio is another name. Of course, Brian Flores, another guy that has ties to Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots. Like I said, that something that could be similar to what Dean Pease runs. So those are some of the names. Arthur Smith said they're not thinking about experience, things like that. They can get some a young guy that can come in, an older guy that can come in. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think they need to go ahead and hire defensive coordinator soon because you want that guy to be part of the guys that the players that they're going to be bringing in to fit his scheme. So for free agency and the draft. So as soon as they hire the guy, the better to bring him in the mix. I think that's really, really important. So we definitely need to look at that. If we can see what Brian says, I'd rather have Frank Bush so we don't change anything. Yeah. If he's capable, he did. He has called plays before this season. He called a play in the New Orleans Saints game that we had down in New Orleans. But he had called plays before, like in New York, I think when he was playing interim. So Frank Bush does have experience call plays. So if he put his name in the hat, maybe he didn't even put his name in the hat for that job, which we don't know. But we just have to see. Ron here say he like Flores. Yes, we talked about him. Like I said, if you go back and look at that Miami Dolphins defense when he was there, they was really, really good. Like I said, I like him because it had ties to the Patriots, Bill Belichick, which Dean Pease coached him for some years. So you like that like I said, that multiple way of calling defenses and just having a mix. If you go back and look at the way the Dolphins played the Patriots every year when Brian Flores was there, they kind of owned the Patriots. And they had pretty good defenses. So Brian Flores definitely be a good candidate. He's already getting X by other teams trying to come in as well. So Frank Pierce calling plays during the Saints game. Yes, just mentioned. Brian Peoples, I agree with you. Yeah, it didn't. We talking about Frank Bush. Like I said, if he want the challenge, that's what I said. We don't know if he even put his name in the hat, but maybe he did. We don't know. Yep, Jared Mayo, young. He's a young guy. Actually, Dean Pease actually coached him, so he understands Dean Pease philosophy, what he's trying to do. Like I said, it's really, really intriguing guy. I agree with you for real. That's really somebody we could consider. And Lovie Smith, yeah, he's another guy that a lot of people have been mentioning. However, I just think Lovie Smith is that Tampa 2 is too different. It's just a completely different defense. Not saying that it's not successful, it is, but the foundation has already been set for the Atlanta Falcons, and if you're gonna go that route, you're probably gonna need some different linebackers. Linebackers in the Tampa 2 got to be able to cover. Maybe Deion Jones still here, cover linebacker, but a guy like Michael Walker and Travis can definitely improve in that space. But Lovie Smith played that he's come from that Tampa 2 type defense, which is the complete different defense than the multiple defense that we have been seeing that Dean Pease run. So, but if they want to go that route, I don't think that Arthur Smith, if he feel like he's the best guy candidate for the job, I don't think he would hesitate to bring in a guy like Lovie Smith. Fangio is a good choice. He really intrigues me because every year that Denver defense with Big Fangio was really, really good. So he really intrigues me a whole lot. So I agree with you about that name. Another guy that for some reason that I just like his fire and the way he coached, and I liked his defense is Rex Ryan. I know it's just been years since he coached, but of course, if you go back to the old 46 defense with his pops, Buddy Ryan, Um, I just like that style. He coached Ray Lewis and all those guys. Um, he's really aggressive play caller, bring a lot of pressure on quarterbacks. I just like that style of football, aggressiveness. So another guy I know nobody haven't mentioned him. I don't even know if he want to coach anymore. Of course, he's an analyst right now on ESPN, but I like him. I really do. Um, Brian People said, "How about Steve Wilkes?" Yes, I like Steve Wilkes. That defense was really playing good, um, and we should just, especially if the Panthers decide not to give him the head coaching job, which in my opinion would be stupid because the way he turned that team around, all the players really want him to come back to be their head coach, and if they decide not to bring him back, he's definitely will be a good choice for the Atlanta Falcons. I'll have to go back and look at his scheme. I know the Panthers ran a little bit more of a 4-3 than a 3-4, but those guys was really, really good. Um, and let's be honest, you have to have good players no matter what defensive scheme you're in. You got to have players to play your scheme because if you don't, you're gonna fail. So that's one of the things that we really got to consider when we talking about these schemes, guys, is that you got to have the players, and you know you just have to tip your hat off to the EPs in these 2 seasons because I don't really think he had the players that he really wanted. He had the players that that they gave him because of the salary cap and issues like that, and he made it work with what he had, right? So that's what we want. We want a coach that could be flexible and be able to make adjustments on the fly. And when guys go down, if you run strictly man and then you have to go to zone because you got cornerbacks can't play man, you got to be able to be flexible and be able to know how to play calls and do things that way. That's the kind of defensive coordinator we want. Like I said, really gonna be interested to see what they decide to do, but um, I just think that they need to make this decision sooner better than later because you want that guy to be part of your scouting process for free agency um and the draft, right? Also, the Falcons is going to host the East West Shrine game this year. They're going to coach. They not host. They're going to coach that game along with the New England Patriots. So they're going to get firsthand of some of these guys coming out of college. So that's going to be awesome to see. So they're going to the whole coaching staff is going to be down there and coach some of these guys up, which is a good thing. So now the Falcons get to put their hands on some of these guys that's coming out. They get a firsthand look at some of these guys. So I love that. And you would want the defensive coordinator already be there as well. So I agree. Need someone with the same philosophy. Yes, yes, yes. He already mentioned that he already talked to people. So the search has already started. They're going to take their time. Like I said, no need to rush, but sooner better than later. Of course, NFL is still going on. Unfortunately, not for us. So that's why we already talking about off season, and some fan bases are still um, getting ready for the playoffs to happen. So, and guys, just to throw this out, I don't care who wins the Super Bowl, as long as it's not the Dallas Cowboys. So, just gonna go ahead and throw that out there. All right, all right, all right. The next topic, guys, is just the off-season plan and its whole. So, um, I love the way Terry Fontenot said that. Of course, we just talked about the $75 million that the Atlanta Falcons have in cap space, but you need to be smart with that $75 million, guys. You just don't want to go out and spend it, and pay the biggest free agent, get one player, and use up all your cap space on one player because the Falcons is more than just one player away from being the team that we want them to be. So they got to be smart. They need to be able to make the right decisions. You want to be able to build a roster the correct way. He mentioned that they're already in the next phase of their plan, which means if you look at it, it really makes sense because so for the first 2 years they really had no cap space. They had to do the things they had to do, to try to put a competitive team on the field at the same time while fixing um, the cap, where they can be able to build a team in such a way that they wanted to. So this is that phase now where they have the cap space they need, and they can go out and try to sign free agents to bring in, into this culture, but not be um, dumb about it and sign, one guy or two guys, and your salary cap is ate up just like that. So they really have to be smart about how they're going to do it. Of course, it's going to definitely start with free agency. If you break it down into some things, the new league year starts in March. Um, really start looking at some of the free agents out there. Other videos, we're gonna start talking about some of those free agents. So, but that's gonna be the plan, and then they'll go into the draft period, and they'll try to build, you know, more depth in the draft. Terry Fontenot mentioned that they want to look at every position on the team, not just positions of needs. Like we us fans think about just what we need. Look at every position because um, the more guys that you got at a certain position, the better your depth be when injuries happen, because we know that injuries happen in the NFL. So you want to be smart about that. So the offseason plan is already started. They already had their December meeting. They're gonna have another meeting in February, then another one in probably March and April, and get ready to go for the draft. So um, and those guys start all over again, right? That's the way they roll. So um, that's the way we're looking at it. Hopefully we cut Marcus Mariota at cap space. I was going to talk about our free agents just a minute and our own guys. Should we pick up defense or offense majority in the draft? Um, that question really depends on what they do in free agency. Um, because if you can fill a lot of the holes um, that we think they need in the free agency, then you can actually stick to your best player available in the draft and add depth to the positions that you want to, instead of reaching for needs and things like that. So they'll be able to do that this year, definitely with the cap space, if they can actually go out and add in key spots on the team. So that's really one of the things that we definitely need to look at. All right, so that's the start off-season plan, and then we get into the off-season plan. We're gonna talk about um our own free agents to start off the season. So what's going on, Millie Mills? Um, like I just told you guys at the beginning of this show, we have 39 guys still on the roster, which means that a lot of the guys on the team this year is going to be free agents. So if you take off the 7 future contracts, really got like 32 guys on the contract, and then the 7 futures really don't count towards the cap space. So that's about 21 um 21 guys that's going to be free agents this year, right? So the first thing the Falcons got to do, which is really important because, like I said, we talked about the culture, is look at our own free agents that we have in this building and see who we think that we want to keep, right? So Brian Peoples talked about Marcus Mariota. He's not a free agent. He's actually still under contract. However, if they was to decide to cut Marcus Mariota, which in my opinion, I think they should go ahead and do that. I feel like he quit on the team. There's nobody's going to make me feel any other way about it. It's no way you was in a game and you played, and then you had a bye, and then all of a sudden got chronic knee issues. It just don't sit well with me. You could have definitely helped the young quarterback out and mentor him to help him learn the game. It's just I just thought that wasn't cool. And you're supposed to be a team player, and you got benched and you didn't want to stay with the team. So I think they should go ahead and cut ties with him. That's just the way I feel about it. If they do that, I think they get about $12 million in cap space, which is put us over. Um, it put us about almost to $90 million in cap space, probably 87 million. So that would be really really awesome. However, we definitely would have to go back and make sure we bring in my opinion, if you're going to roll with Desmond Ritter, you got to bring in a veteran quarterback to be his backup. And so we talked about some of the veteran free agent quarterbacks out there, like I said, but it's so early. We don't know who's actually else is going to be on the market at the time. It definitely could be some veterans getting cut. Like I said, Derek Carr comes to mind. Ryan Tannehill is another guy. They want to go a different route with his salary. So there's some guys that you got to think about when we talk about a quarterback position. But Marcus Mariota, if they decide to cut him, open up more cap space for us, give us more room to actually sign more people. So they have to make that decision before the new league year. If not, his salary be guaranteed, and then there's no need to cut him. Then he will actually be on the team. So that's one of the things that we got to do. But when we talk about our other free agents, a couple of guys come to mind. A guy like Lorenzo Carter. What do we want to do with Lorenzo Carter? Do you think he deserved a long-term deal here? Maybe another year with the Falcons? What do you think we should do with Lorenzo Carter? I thought he was really good for us this year. Didn't put up the numbers that we want him to put up, but I thought he was steady. Don't have to pay him a big large contract because he didn't play himself into a large contract, but I think he's somebody we definitely can bring back on this team. If him and the team can come up with a agreement. Another guy on the defensive side of the ball, Rashawn Evans. I thought he played really good for the team this year. Um, he definitely he was the leading tackler for the team, fifth in the league in tackles in the NFL. So I thought Rashawn Evans really played his way into his prove it deal. Still, I wouldn't break the bank on him either. But if they can come up with an agreement to bring him back, I definitely would have liked to see Rashawn Evans back. And then the last guy that I really am considering is Caleb McGarry, who they decided not to pick up his fair option, which makes him a free agent this year. And I thought he played himself back into the favor of the Atlanta Falcons. Now, do he rate a big, large contract that a right tackle would get in the NFL? I don't think so because if you look at consistency throughout the years, I don't think he actually played to great to rate a large contract. However, I do feel that he deserved to get paid the way he played this year. I mean, if he can continue that, I love the chemistry between him and Chris Lindstrom. So if they definitely want to bring him back, and once again, if the team and his people come up with a good agreement with Caleb McGarry, we definitely could be somebody that maybe we could bring Caleb McGarry back. So personally, those are the only three guys, free agents I'm considering that they should probably look at bringing back. And once again, those guys are Lorenzo Carter, Rashawn Evans, and Caleb McGarry. Um, Anybody else that was free agents, they want to come back on a minimum deal, yeah, sure. But other than those three guys, I'm not going to lose any sleep too much. I think we can go out and find some more quality guys to bring in for the other spots. I'm not sure. I think Alumda's a Kids might be another guy, but because he is a veteran, he knows the system. You can definitely bring him back. So he want to come back on on a small deal, I wouldn't mind him coming back. So those are the things we got to think about. So, like I said, in my opinion, the team free agents, those going to be the first thing they have to look at off season is our own free agents, who we want to bring back. Remember last year, we had to let Fourier leave, who led the league in tackles again this year because we couldn't pay him, right? We had to let Austin Hooper leave a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago now because we couldn't pay him. So those are some of the, some of the the spoils when you have your salary cap the way it is and you can't pay your own free agents. Well, this year's different. We can pay some of our guys. However, we want to be smart about it and we're not going to overpay for anybody. And the three guys that I mentioned, did they play to huge, large contracts? No, they did not. So if they want to come back with the team, definitely we could look at, not saying getting a team friendly deal, but a fair deal, um, market value for those guys. So that's Rashawn Evans, Lorenzo Carter, and Caleb McGarry. Millie Mills talked about what about AJ and Chris? Yes, those guys are not free agents, right? Chris actually he's going to be going to his 5th year, so definitely, I can see them actually go ahead and you know inking him in um, to a long term deal, but they don't have to do it right away because he's already on the contract for next year on his 5th year option. AJ has 2 more seasons, so they will have to decide this year if they're going to pick up AJ 5th year option, which I'm pretty sure they are. So they don't have to sign AJ until next offseason if they want to. They can go ahead and get it done this season if they feel like it, but they don't have to until next year. Pretty sure they're going to pick up his 5th year option anyway. So those two guys definitely got to pay them coming up here in the future, but it's not something that's pressing that they have to get it done right away. So if they do the cap right and get guys in first, they could look at AJ and Chris later on. Maybe they go ahead and get Chris out the way, um, and put his money later on down his contract. Um, Definitely, I can see them go ahead and get Chris Nestrom out of the way because he is going to the 5th year. However, AJ has 2 more years. They're definitely going to pick up his 5th year option in this upcoming season, and then they have to next year to decide what they want to do AJ Terrell. So those are the things you definitely got to look at on those two guys. But I didn't want to put them in our free agents because they are already on our team, and if we go ahead and count that towards our salary cap, that's going to just hurt us more in this 2023 class. So um, definitely want both of those guys to be on the team for a long time. But if they do the salary cap right and work it the right way, they can get those guys paid and um, keep them. Definitely Pruitt should come back. Yeah, you know what? I forgot about Michael Pruitt. He's definitely earned the contract back. Um, I can see the Falcons rolling with the tight end core of John Fitzpatrick, Kyle Pitts, Parker Hesse, and Michael Pruitt. It would be a great tight end room for the Atlanta Falcons. Arthur Smith loves his tight ends, so those four tight ends should be good if they go there. Anthony Fersker be an odd man looking out, but yes, definitely bring Michael Pruitt back. Rashawn Evans was decent. That's what I already talked about him. Yeah, he's definitely somebody we're gonna have to bring back. And don't think our offense necessarily have to have a superstar tight end. Pruitt stepped up. Yes, he did, but can you imagine Kyle Pitts in this offense with the way Desmond Ritter started to pass the ball? I saw a stat that Desmond Ritter on 3rd down completions, he was, had like 118 pass rate on 3rd down this season, his 4 games. Small sample size, of course, but that would have been 2nd in the league on 3rd down. So like I said, Desmond Ritter, he showed his progression. He showed a lot of stuff to us. Still a small sample size, so don't know what direction they're gonna go with that. But what I seen over the 4 games, I saw he got better and better each game. So you definitely got to love that. Abdul Anderson, definitely bring him back as depth. Um, yeah, those guys, especially those defensive linemen, those undrafted guys, I don't want to count those guys as somebody that gonna eat up a lot of salary cap space anyway. So definitely bring those guys back to add depth to the room. Guys like Abdul Anderson, Michael Pruitt, Timmy Horn, those guys. Bring them back. Jaleel Johnson, another guy who played well down the stretch for us. Bring all those guys back. It's definitely um, for depth reasons, and they won't cost a whole lot towards our salary cap. So I'm definitely don't want to think that leave those guys out. I think Kyle Pitt's talent may not be maximized in our run heavy offense. I talked about this earlier, and I understand your sentiment for about that because the way we played this season. But I really believe the Arthur Smith the offense is going to look different next season. I think Arthur Smith has to evolve each season. Yes, the running game is there. He wants to be run the ball and be efficient in the run game. However, you have to be able to be balanced and pass. So we was third in rushing this year, and we was 31st in passing. We got to be able to be better than that in passing. So I understand what you mean by the run game, but I believe that if we could start to be more balanced in our offense, that means passing the ball a little bit more. I think Kyle Pitts will be able to be utilized better, right? So that's what I'm hoping. I'm not 100% sure that that's the direction that Arthur Smith's going to go in, but um, we can't be third in rushing and 31st in passing because that just really shows that we're not nowhere near balanced. We at least be 15th in passing, somewhere around there. I think that'd be better for our team. Our offense to be more explosive that way. And with the emergence, the way Drake London showed, how the chemistry between him and Calvin Ridley, bring a guy like Kyle Pitts back, pick up another receiver in the passing game. Um, we really could, start to use the term pick your poison because you're going to stop our run game or you're going to stop our passing game, and that's what we want to be able to be that kind of offense. So that's what I'm saying. I have no idea if Arthur Smith is going to go that route, but I feel like he should because the passing offense was so bad this year. Um, majority because Marcus Mariota, the way he called the game, didn't let him throw the ball a whole lot. But then if you saw when Desmond Ritter came in, he actually let him rip it a little bit more. So I think that's more the speed where he want to go, open the offense a little bit. And like I said, if you can get help, put help around a guy like Drake London and Kyle Pitts, they really can be explosive. And we got to actually lock in Huntley if we're trying to keep him. Yeah, we definitely Huntley, but I think we're going to be safe with Huntley. He tore his Achilles, so I don't know if he's going to be ready to come back right away. I don't know the timeline. Everybody heals different, so he got hurt later in the season, so he'll definitely be back. You know, started next season. So if they put him on the 53-man roster, which they could, they can put him on IR and then they can bring him back later. But definitely, I think Caleb Huntley is a guy that earned a spot to be on this Atlanta Falcons team. I say Jacoby Myers or Miko Harmon. Both of those guys are definitely good candidates. I'm definitely guys going to start doing shows on our free agents, and I'm gonna go by position on free agents. So be looking out for those shows when I talk about the different free agents that we got. So definitely look for those. that's coming up here soon. But those are some guys. Definitely, Miko Hartman is a game changer. The way he can stretch the field. So Kobe Myers, another guy that we can definitely use to put out there beside Drake London and Kyle Pitts. So we definitely need to bring in a veteran receivers. Not a whole lot of great receivers coming out of the draft, but you never know. We can definitely find a diamond in the rough in that, and in the draft as well. So, guys, those are team free agents that can really consider bringing back. So going into the offseason plan, they definitely gonna look at those guys first, see can they lock them up, and then go out into the free agency market. Right. Last two things we're gonna talk about some of our needs. Right. So on the offensive side of the ball, some of the needs that we definitely need to think about going into the offseason. Like we just talked about it, we probably need another pass catcher and receiver to go along with Drake London. We definitely can do that. I thought a guy like Cardell Hodge is a guy that we definitely could consider bringing back just for depth plays because he plays so well on special teams as well. But bring a guy like Cardell Hodge back. We're going to see with Barnhart. Jared Barnhart is is he gonna ever because he never really got a chance to get on the field this year because he got injured. So that's another guy that we can see what kind of potential he has. He made the 53-man roster because he played in preseason and during training camp. So we'll see about a guy like Jared Barnhart. But definitely, they definitely need to bring another pass catcher in. Offensive line, we still have not figured out our left guard position. You really want to hone in on that. Are they going to go look into the free agency of that, or are they going to look in the draft for that left guard position? It's curious to see what route they decide to take with the left guard position. The center position, a lot of people really didn't like the play of Drew Dahlman this year. I thought he played okay for the most part. And it could just be because I felt like the run game was really explosive. He had a big part in that. So it depends on what Arthur Smith and the offensive line coach what they think about his progress, his development, and see if they're going to decide to make a change at center. And then last but not least, if they do not decide to bring Caleb McGarry back, are we going to bring somebody else in for that right tackle position? So those are some of the things we definitely got to look at throughout the time and see what direction they're going to do on the offensive side of the ball. Another free agent I did not mention, and I think he's another guy that's not under salary cap, and that's Keith Smith. I think Keith Smith really is another guy that goes underlooked because it's a fullback position, but it's definitely a important position, especially for the Atlanta Falcons. So Keith Smith is a guy definitely you want to make sure that if he's a free agent, if we can bring him back as well. And looking at it, yes, Keith Smith is another guy. So another guy we definitely can look at and see somebody that we want to bring back into free agency as well. I forgot about Keith Smith. We mainly need a receiver who can flat out go Deshaun Jackson style guy. Yep. We need somebody to stretch the field, like somebody like we thought Demir Bird did it a couple times this year. But you're right, we need a burn. That's why somebody mentioned Miko Hartman. Definitely is somebody we definitely can think about. But you're right, I agree with you. We need somebody that can stretch. We need somebody to stretch the field to be able to go get it right. Not no arguments here with that. Believe it or not, I think Kyle Pitts is that type of player as well. I think he's definitely somebody that can stretch the field. So those are some of the things we definitely look at. So those are our offensive needs. Not to me, not a whole lot offensive need for us, but we definitely need to build depth. Big thing for me is the offensive line, pass catchers. That's what we need to work on. And last but not least, defensive needs, right? We talk about defensive needs. Said Kids 40 gone. I think money may pay him. And plug. Think he gone, man? Think Keith Smith gone? He might be. He might go because you're right. I think they use Parker Hesse a lot in that, and in that fullback position. So you could be 100% correct because Parker Hesse played a lot of that back coming out the backfield with the running back. So um, Keith Smith could be gone. It's a great point. Um, Tank Dell, wide receiver out of Houston, probably a third round pick, but can fly. I'm gonna go take a look at him, Millie Mills, because I don't know a whole lot about him, but I'm definitely gonna take a look. Um, we need a burner, man. We can get a couple of guys in the draft that can do that. Take the top off. That's what we're gonna get. So definitely some of those guys. So guys, this is when we talk about the defensive needs. This is where I think the Falcons really need to focus on this year, the most. That's on the defensive side of the ball. We talk about defense, and it's really kind of crazy we saying this because offense, down the second half of the season, we couldn't really score a whole lot of points, right? But but at the same time, I still want to focus on the defensive side of the ball. It just for some reason for me, defense it seemed like we could be better on defense. You look at the numbers, like I said, one of the teams that did not give a whole lot of points in the second half of games during the second half of the season. So they improved a lot, but at the same time, 21 sacks is not good enough. You got to be able to affect the quarterback in NFL, and the Falcons just not doing that enough. Right? I know Terry Fontenot mentions it's not just about the pass rush, the defensive end position. It's about the interior pass rush. It's about the back end holding up, making quarterbacks hold the ball longer. So that's our secondary players, our linebackers, safeties, things like that. So we definitely need to focus on defense. We need bona fide playmakers on the defensive side of the ball, right? When I think about playmakers on the defensive side of the ball, and I'm gonna give you some Hall of Famers, just to to illuminate what I'm talking about. And I'm talking about guys like Ed Reed, right? Guys like Deion Sanders. Those are guys I'm talking about, right? Guys like Troy Polamalu. Those are change makers on the defensive side of the ball, right? That's what I'm talking about. We need guys like that. Guys like Aaron Donald, right? We want guys that gonna wreck games by themselves. They can't win it, you need a team, but we can get playmakers and to go along with our staple Grady Jarrett, who make plays. He does make plays, but he just can't make it by himself, right? We need playmakers on defense, right? We need to go out, and I don't dislike the guys we got. They solid, steady players, but none of those guys are not just playmakers. They make plays every time you looking. They making a play in the game. That's the kind of players we need to go out and find. Those kind of guys are hard to find, of course, because that's why it's only so many guys that make it to the Hall of Fame. But if we can go out and try to find a playmaker on defense this offseason, um, that's what we need to do. So that's what I'm looking at on defensive needs. And it's all across the board. Defensive line, um, pass rush, linebackers, safeties, corners, whatever you can call it. We need to be able to go out and just make this defense better. So um, that's what I'm looking at on the defensive side of the balls. Definitely want to know what you guys think about that. He said you're right though. Outside the wide receiver, linebacker, running back, maybe a backup. We all in on the defense. Yes, every position too, 100% every position. I just can't see a position on defense where we're like, yeah, we good there. I I mean, if we can get a dominant corner, bring him in. Even though Casey Hayward got another season, but he's going into his 11th season. Just got injured. AJ Terrell, yeah, he's still a young stud, but if we can bring in another playmaker cornerback, bring him in. I like Richie Grant, but if we can bring in another safety, bring him in. I like Troy Anderson, but we can bring in another linebacker, bring him in. We know we need to bring in another defensive lineman. I like what Take on Graham provided for us this year, but somebody else beside Grady Jarrett would be awesome. So bring them in, right? Every position on the defense, I think they need to consider another pass rusher. They go out and get another pass rusher in the draft that can dominate, bring him in. So that's what we need to look at on the defense side of the ball. I can't wait to start talking about our free agency and our draft class. We're going to start talking about that here soon, this off season. So be on the lookout for that. But guys, that's where we stand. The Falcon off season is going to look totally different than the last few seasons. Not just the last two, but because the Falcons can actually compete and can play in free agency this year. We don't have to sit back and wait until all the big money guys go away and then go out and get bargain basement deal guys. They can still go that route because you can always find a diamond in the rough. Don't get me wrong. We found Cordell Patterson, who has probably the best 2 seasons that you probably can save, from offensive standpoint. A guy like him, I thought Lorenzo Carter played very well this year. Rashawn Evans played well, so they have found guys, on smaller deals to come out and help contribute for the team. But we need to start to build a culture so every year we don't have to overhaul the whole team, and that's what we're trying to do. So this year will be different. These guys will be able to go out and create things. That's what we want to see. We want them to be able to create the magic, right? Let's see what they can do, guys. This is the first season. It would have been great that Dean P stayed to see him work with some guys that he really can work with, some actually playmakers, and see what he could do. But hopefully they find the right guy to bring in to keep this thing going on the defense side of the ball. And hopefully Arthur Smith realized he has to open up his offense so we can be more explosive in the passing game to go along with that dynamic run game. So, guys, that's all I have today. You guys let me know what you think about the offseason plans. What you think about Marcus Mariota. What you think about our own free agents that we got, who they should bring back. Name some guys that you think that they should bring in during the offseason and draft and in free agency as well. We're going to talk about it, throw some names out there, ask me questions. We're going to have all offseason to talk about it. And then, we're going to see how it all shape up here at the end of April. So can't wait. He said most of our D liners are backups. Let's be real. Yes, they. Yes, man. It's really interesting that we played a lot of undrafted guys, a lot of backups on our defensive side. I mean, it's you have to be amazed that the Falcons was able to win 7 games with some of the guys. And these guys, they in the NFL, so they can play. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, it's a reason why they was undrafted and things like that. And the Falcons were forced to play those guys lots of snaps this season because of injuries. I mean, just think about the way the season started. We thought we was going to bring in a guy who retired on us before the season started. Vincent Taylor, another guy who got injured before the season started. Taquan Graham went down on us. We really was hurt in our defensive line room, and we still was able to, make things happen. So you gotta love it. That's what you gotta love. You said no dollars, we held it down. Yes, we did good, man, with no money. Gotta love it. You got a lot of work ahead of us breaking down this team this offseason. I'll be watching. Don't worry, man. I can't wait. I'm excited about it, man, because unlike the other seasons, right? It wasn't a whole lot to talk about because you might well not look at the big name free agents because we couldn't afford none of those guys, right? We probably could afford one guy, right? And then we didn't want to have any more money. This year we can't say that. It's a lot of names being thrown around. If you go out there and look, and we're gonna talk about it because we're gonna talk about you can throw a guy name out there, but does he fit this team, right? That's what we got to figure out. Then free agency is really gonna. I mean, the draft is really gonna be big because do the Falcons go quarterback in the draft? That's a question. But we might have an idea at the free agency what they decide to do, right? If they decide to keep Marcus Mariota, I say they won't go quarterback in the draft, right? They cut Mariota and then bring in another veteran quarterback. I still say they won't go quarterback. So, especially not in the first pick, right? They might go later on in the draft, but we just have to see, right? That's everything's going to be exciting, guys. Please enjoy the playoffs this weekend. Um, I don't know if I'll be back this week. I might back, and I probably start this week with some free agency guys. So be on the lookout for that. Well, guys, but that's all I have. Thank you guys for tuning in today, talking about the Falcons off season, getting started. It's going to be a different off season. This is your boy Ricondo coming back at you with another video. Peace.